Hey, if you got part of the video, you've got the live unedited edition Home Gadget Geeks Thursday night. It is the 14th of January, 2021. Sure glad, Mike, I'm sure glad we're saying 2021 these days. Although the first week didn't pan out so well. This week's seems to be a little calmer. So, maybe
not as bad.
Maybe not as bad. And you've got Home Gadget Geeks. This is the live unedited edition. If you're joining us live, check in the chat room. I saw Ken out there earlier. Joe's checking in as well. Love to have you on board. If you want to catch all the programs, head out to theaverageguy.tv/ and then the show number HGG. This show is 475 if you want to see all those things going on. But what do you I heard you just opening something. What'd you open?
Oh, LaCroix. I'm addicted to LaCroix.
Right. And you're doing
not drinking anymore.
You're doing dry January, right?
Yeah, January, February, March, April, May. It'll be we'll see.
Yeah.
It's been it's weird. You give it up and I feel so good.
You do feel a lot better.
I missed it for about the first week, 2 weeks, but now I don't think about it anymore and I just feel so much better.
Yeah. Yeah. I totally agree. I've been backing, I think we talked about this at the end of the show last week. I've been backing way down. And so, beer or two. I did pick up Steep Drop. It's a nitro.
Well, it sounds really good.
Cold brew.
Is that the Boulevard one?
The Boulevard one.
Yeah.
Kansas City.
Mm-hmm.
Watch this. Whoa. Watch this pour. I mean, it's a hard pour, right? It's just
no head on that thing, huh?
Like a Guinness. Well, it's a milk stout, right? So
yeah.
Nitro. So just dark as the night is black, right? I mean, look at that thing. And it's just a delicious You know what I should have brought? We bought Tim and I, my son, went out and bought. We bought those PBR cold brew coffee. They're basically like chocolate milk in.
I don't even know if I've heard of that.
I should go get one. Maybe at the end of the show. Maybe I have somebody bring me one. It's basically, so think like of a milk stout, but it's really just kind of chocolatey. It's cold brew coffee and it's 5% alcohol. So, you could think you could drink those in the morning.
Yeah.
Probably not a good
well, it reminds me of the Jaeger cold brew that I was really into for a while. That Jaeger cold brew, I mean, it's a lot higher than 5%, but man, that stuff was really good. Joe says, what the heck? What the heck what, Joe? Do you like the beer pick?
No. Oh, yeah. No, we might need an intervention for you to get you drinking again.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. There it is. Okay, I was behind in the comments.
I was showing Mike the candlestick stash before we got things going here, and Mike, I've got a serious problem. They're stacking up faster than I can light them.
You got a cold weather problem.
I do have a cold weather problem. Yeah. I talked last week. I bought that. The topper for the propane tanks. So I took it out, smoke it. I mean, I'm lighting candles with Ed, and so it's going great. And then I see it kind of just slowly. You can kind of hear it and I was running out of gas, and that had been a tank I had on the grill probably too long anyway. So there wasn't a lot of fuel in there anyways.
Right.
But I was super disappointed because it was the one time I had a chance to really, so about 45 minutes in, it goes out. Of course, so the last 15 minutes were pretty cold. So I went and picked up 2 new bottles yesterday, so I won't get caught. I won't get caught on Sunday with no heat. But the thing works great. I don't know. We got blizzard conditions, so I don't know what Sunday is going to look like here. I imagine by then the storm will have gone through and we should be okay. Don't you think?
I'm really hoping so. I think hopefully it's just the wind that's going to be an issue. And then once that's done, hopefully this new snow doesn't last for a long time. At least that's what I'm hoping.
Joe was referring to your background, by the way.
Oh, got it. Yeah. Switched up the background. We moved the workbench. Now the benefit was to have a dedicated place to work, right? I've been around. The background just didn't look too professional for work. I'm on calls all day with our advisors. So I had been upstairs with a different background, and then we're like, you know what, this weekend let's just switch up the basement. So pulled the workbench, moved it to the other side of the basement, painted the wall, put up this really cool map Hannah got me actually to track ham radio contacts. So it's like a 3D wood map. It's kind of cool. I wish you could see it better. But you can do push pins in it for the flags. And so every time I make a contact in a different country, put a flag in. So it was a really cool Christmas gift and good motivation. Jim, your video has been choppy to me. I don't know. Is that, you seen that too?
No, I'm seeing that too.
Okay. I just want to make sure. I didn't know if it was me or if chat was seeing it as well.
I think I'm seeing
your audio's been fine.
I'm seeing it in the monitor right now. We'll give it a second, see if sometimes it corrects itself. There's not too much I could do at this point. I wonder if, let's see, could something be downloading? Nothing of mine. God, I hate that. That's just like, the internet should just work.
Yeah.
Hold on. Let me, I'll mute. You talk to folks. I'll be right back.
All right. Chat, howdy. Yeah, I've been loving the background, but it's funny. So at work now, obviously I sit here, so I just use this microphone with my work computer as well. And everyone has, like, the past 2 days, every single time I talk to someone new again, they're like, whoa, are we doing like a radio show? And like, no, just using my good microphone. It's always funny. And then also we figured out today that they said that when I wear a dark shirt, this black chair behind me, it almost looks like I'm like wearing a hood, which I didn't notice in the first call with one of the advisors this morning. It's like, yeah, you're kind of right. Kind of does. Kind of does. Gotta be back.
I hope so. Yeah, Tim was downloading something huge. He's like, "Oh, sorry, my bad. I'll throttle it down." Is that any better? Well, I guess we'll give it a second.
It's better right now. I would have thought it would have been a big upload that would have been causing it.
Who knows? Who knows what he's doing? He said he'd throttle it for me.
Okay.
That's true. Well, we'll see how it looks. It looks clear.
Looks better. I
was gonna tell a story. What was I gonna say?
Cigars. Something about cigars or candles.
Yeah. Shoot, I had a good story that I said I was gonna save it for the pre-show. Let's see what I had up here. PBR. Oh, so we bought that this PBR that is just like it's like a chocolate milk. And so we didn't know. We kind of thought it was a beer thing or a coffee stout or whatever. No, it's really chocolate milk. That's 5% alcohol.
And it's actually chocolate milk.
They say coffee brew, which I don't know what that means, but it's literally chocolate milk. I mean, it tastes just like Nestle's Quick.
Yeah.
Oh, this is not good. This is not. Now it's only 5%, so it's not going to get you or anything like that. But it's one of those kinds of things where you're kind of we were kind of like, but it was a good find. We've been Tim and I have been trying different. We go out beer shopping together and then try and find different kinds of things. Like, here, try this and try that, and
yeah, it's fun.
Let's get this one going. Yeah, it's been pretty good. So,
Ron, it's been going pretty good. No SSTV for me. I tried it, man. I think Ron, you were the one who mentioned it in chat one time, and I tried it the next day, and I just didn't get it fully up and running. So I haven't been doing that. I did do WinLink for email. That was pretty cool. So being able to send and receive email via ham radio, it was really cool. My dad came over for my kid's birthday, and I was like, "Come here, come show this." And I literally sent him an email to his email address via the radio, no internet. And he's like, "Okay, that is pretty cool." So did some WinLink, and that was just the latest thing I was playing around with. But still, just a lot of fun with HF going long range.
Not AF, HF.
Not AF, HF. Yes.
All right, let's do this thing. Let me get the weather back up because we're going to talk a little bit about the storm coming in here. Let me share this. Hopefully tell me if my video goes wonky again. And I'll stop sharing. I thought it was me, so I turned the weather. I had the weather up, and I thought it was me that was causing my own video to be kind of jittery.
But now it looks better.
Yeah.
But it's been weird a few times the last few weeks. It hasn't gotten blurry, but it's almost like glitched real quick. And it seemed to me like maybe like a USB something. I don't know. Yeah. It doesn't get bad, and it's only for like a very split second. So
I changed the USB where it was plugged into the computer.
Yeah, because it's still doing that a little bit. That's
glitchy, where it just kind of
kind of weird.
Yeah, and I wonder what's causing that.
You're still on the C920, right?
I am still on.
And I'm back on the C920 this week. So I was on that Canon camera. Well, I had switched. I'd gone from the Nikon DSLR, then I went to the Canon old video camera, but that was, I think, putting out pretty low res. So now we're back on the C920.
Yeah, I think it's the fact that I have a bunch of monitors set up on this computer. That's what I think is causing it. So
yeah,
I think I'm probably just overloading it. So
with which graphics card?
Well, I've got the two 1060s in here. They run a monitor each, but then I have two coming off the motherboard graphics card as well.
Oh, got it.
So yeah, I'm pretty sure I have them all running on the those cards can support a couple monitors.
Oh yeah, because I'm running all four of my monitors on one graphics card.
Yeah,
my 1660.
So I just need to switch those over. One of them's an old VGA, so I don't, I have to figure it out. So okay, let me kick this thing off. This is the Average Guy Network, and you have found Home Gadget Geeks show number 475, recorded on January 14th, 2021. Here on Home Gadget Geeks, we cover all the favorite tech gadgets that find their way into your home. News, reviews, product updates, and conversation, all for the average tech guy. I'm your host, Jim Collison, broadcasting live from a blustery, like you can hear the wind blowing out there. Blustery Bellevue, Nebraska. We got to bring up as we talk about this, I thought it just would be a good idea. This is kind of what's sitting over us right now. Are you getting, we don't have any snow yet, but it's coming, right?
No, well, yeah, but I was in my basement today and I could hear the wind. And for me to be in my basement and hear the wind, it was windy. And I always get really worried about my ham radio makeshift antenna mast on top of my house. I can hear it creak going. I'm like, that thing's going to end up just punching a hole through my roof at some point.
Well, hopefully, it doesn't do your roof or your neighbor's roof, right? That would be kind of unfortunate to that's, you're kind of worried about those things. And we have high wind warnings and blizzard warnings for tonight. I think going in tomorrow. I think you mentioned they've already canceled school.
They did, yeah, because our boys, the Montessori daycare that they go to follows the public school that they're in, and they already closed. And so they sent out a message like, "Wow, we didn't expect them to close this early." I mean, there hasn't been a drop of snow yet, but I think it's just like you said. The low temps, high winds, kids at the bus stop, not good.
Pretty good indication. This was a storm that blew through Oregon and Washington a couple days ago and just devastated the place. So they're kind of like, yeah, there's a lot of energy in the storm, and so they're kind of just anticipating of that. But it's not scary. It's the show notes, so you can get world-class show notes each time out at theaverageguy.tv. This one, go to theaverageguy.tv/HGG475. Big thanks to our friends over at HelloFresh. We've been talking about it. It's the month of January, Mike. It's a good time to kind of rethink your cooking. And of course, I asked Sarah the other night, we were sitting down, I was like, how long have we been doing HelloFresh? And we couldn't decide it had been 2 or 3 years that we've been doing this. Maybe 2, maybe.
I feel like it's been 2.
Okay. I think so too.
Yeah.
But as we were eating some hot, spicy meatballs on rice with some cooked green beans and ginger, and oh my gosh, it was super good. So if it's the beginning of the new year and you're struggling, you're like if you say, you know what, my food sucks, and it's okay if you do, because it does for a lot of people. They just don't kind of figure it out. Get some of it done for you. You don't have to take it all in one shot. You can get a couple bucks off. Head out to theaverageguy.tv/HelloFresh and get that taken care of. And we appreciate them helping. And it helps me. It just makes this box cheaper for us to buy as well. And then, of course, big thanks to our Patreon subscribers. And so if you Tim and Ed and Aaron and Joe and Jim and Ross and Andy and John and Ed and Ryan and Justin and John and Brian, Dwayne and Nathaniel. Oh, and Paul Byrne. There's at the end. We appreciate you guys doing what you do to support us here on Patreon. If you support us at $5 or more a month, I'll throw your name on this list as well. I want to thank you guys. Kind of make it all happen. And I'm kind of, Mike, we do this Patreon meetup from time to time, and I haven't liked the format of it. It's not my favorite. So I'm looking for something different. Like, I kind of want to think through, like, if we were going to do it. So Patreon subscribers, I really want to hear from you. If you're kind of thinking, I'd like to try something new, something different. I'm kind of zoomed out in a lot of ways. I think everybody else is too, just to get together for a Zoom call. So if you got some ideas, send them to me, Jim at theaverageguy.tv. Something you want to do, something different, and then just everybody jumping on a call. love to hear about it. Send me an email, Jim, at the Average Guy TV. But we appreciate our Patreon subscribers and all that they do for us. Mike, we've kind of had a media week between the two of us, right? We've kind of gone back and forth a little bit. I dropped it in our Discord group. So if you're the Average Guy TV/Discord, you can join that group. And I've been listening to Josh and Richard over at Entertainment 2.0, and they're just big channel fans right now. And I've been a Plex guy forever. Like I've been on Plex, and they have both left Plex and have gone full on to channels. And I've heard it. I listened to their podcast sporadically during the pandemic, but in the last week or so, I've probably caught up to where they're at. And I just thought, I need to give this channels thing kind of a look. Before we talk about that, though, let's talk a little bit about the state of Plex, where Plex is today. As we think about all the things they've done, you're still kind of doing Plex. Talk a little bit about your Plex setup.
Yeah, I mean, I would say I am a power Plex user. We utilize Plex to its fullest. Have a massive library over there. I use the share feature to share with family. I mean, we fully utilize Plex, and so I closely monitor every single update. And I am an update junkie, right? I run updates because the way I run my Plex server is on Unraid. So I run it in Docker on Unraid, got a bunch of storage over there. So I am constantly updating that Docker. I don't hold back. I don't wait to see if the update's going to be stable. So I've experienced the ones where it's, oh, that broke something and that didn't. But, my experience with Plex lately has been that kind of the same thing you had mentioned. So as far as movies, TV shows, any of the media I own that I put on there works fantastic, right? I mean, it's been a rock star for me. I think the key for Plex is really making sure you give it enough of a beefy computer to run it, especially when you're doing transcoding. I have gone through the iterations of running Plex on different machines, and once I settled on Unraid, which isn't a super beefy computer, but still an i7-3770. I mean, that's a decent CPU for just doing transcoding. And I've pulled graphics cards in and out and had dedicated hardware transcoding, which helps a ton. If you've got an extra GPU to throw in there, I mean, that just makes it almost flawless in my opinion. But the way I've been running it, that works great. But they've always had this kind of interesting DVR feature that is good, bad. It's inconsistent is my problem with it. And so what I've experienced with that is, so with the NVR feature, you need something like an HD home run, which Jim and I both run. And that device is going to obviously, take your coax in from your antenna and put it on the network, right? Something Plex can capture. And that works okay. But the guide service has been, I think, the part for me that has been lacking. And my biggest issue with it is the guide looks different depending on what device you're accessing it from. And that's gotten better. I will say they've kind of gotten a more unified guide now. But throughout the process, if I pull it up on NVIDIA, it's perfect and great. And I love the setup on the NVIDIA Shield because it's an actual guide, like the old school guide. Xbox, it wasn't, though. And so it's kind of wonky. But I think the big announcement here is that Plex did announce that their back end channel guide service is changing. So I can't remember the exact details. If you go out to the blog from Plex, you can kind of read more in depth on the detail.
But essentially, log into your Plex instance, and there's a warning.
Big warning.
Yeah.
So this is one of those things. A lot of people have set it and forget it, right? You have your recording set in there and you've never opened it up and looked at it. Be sure you do. If you are a Plex user using the DVR, that integration, is it the 16th, Jim? Did they say it's going to stop working?
Yeah, well, no, it officially stopped being supported on the 1st.
Oh, it did? Okay.
That they're assuming you get 2 weeks of data. So you're going to get data through the 14th. Oh, that's today. Mm-hmm. So chances are by the time you're listening to this, if you're not listening live, you probably are not getting guide data, which means you could be missing recordings.
Right. And so they switched their provider. And so you do need to completely delete and re-add your DVR, which does mean you're going to lose all your recording settings, which is unfortunate. They said they tried to look through everything to see if they could port that over, but they weren't able to. So you're going to have to go back in and add in your shows that you want recorded. But apparently it's going to solve a lot of the issues with recordings and recordings not happening at the right times, live TV, weird issues. So, that's to be seen. For us, although I said I'm a power user, we do record with the Plex NVR. It's hit or miss on whether that's my wife mainly uses that service. It's hit or miss whether she just pops up YouTube TV and watches the recording there or Plex. She hops back and forth. If I am watching network TV, I'm watching it through Plex mainly to save bandwidth from YouTube TV on our internet, right? Because I don't have unlimited anymore. So I'm like, hey, might as well. If I'm going to watch a network channel, I can just watch it locally and not take up any bandwidth. So I use that, and live TV has been working pretty well. Once I figured out to give it enough of a computer, that seemed to work a lot better. When I was running Plex on lower hardware, that live, even because it does have to transcode it a little bit for each device, didn't work out too well. But we'll kind of see if this update kind of brings those people who are complaining about it back. But Jim, I know your experience has been less than par. It's been pretty subpar for compared to mine. I'm just such a fan of it, and I think maybe my fandom makes me a little blind to putting up with some of the little quirks. I'll admit that. Kind of like being an Apple fanboy as well. that same
That's
thing.
okay. You got over that.
But what issues? Well, yeah. We got you
to
to the good side. So, what issues though have you been having? I mean, did Sarah ever fully adopt Plex as your network
no, very much so. She's, she is one that once she starts using something, she'll just keep using it. Now we have it on NVIDIA Shield. And I have a 1 terabyte SSD that I have attached via USB inside a container that, it does some checks to be like, hey, if you're gonna do something on an external hard drive, it has to be fast enough to support recording and transcoding and some of that capabilities. Pass all those tests. So hardware wise, I think I'm fine. It's had weird problems where it's not recorded things it's supposed to, and I don't even use any of the features like, cutting out the commercials and, so I don't create different versions of it for various, she watches it. I should watch more TV, but I don't. And I'll tell you why here in just a second, but she watches it. She records, I don't know, 12, 13 shows. So not a lot. She records those to the box and goes back and watches them. Couple things she doesn't like. One, if football gets in the way, and I know this is maybe not solvable by other things, but it's not really smart about when programming changes, kind of
right
thing. So she gets a problem there. He missed recordings pretty regularly, and for no reason, And now I taught her how to go under a phone and bring it up and just cast it to the box, and so she's doing that now. But again, shouldn't kind of have to do that. For me, the live TV experience has not been good. Sundays, I want to come down here and I want to watch football, and it doesn't work right. It just doesn't pick up the channel half the time. It doesn't. I have to go through some gyrations, and I just kind of give up. It's like, I don't know. It just hasn't. That experience hasn't been great. It's been mediocre. She's been complaining about it a lot, and that's kind of why I've been thinking like, if there's a chance to move somewhere else, maybe now is the time to get it done. The other kind of thing that pushed me over the edge was the channel, the guide data thing. I was like, oh, well, if I'm going to delete them and reset them up anyway, we might as well try channels. So just before the show started, I heard her fire. I said, hey, have you looked at channels yet? And she's like, oh, no, I'll do it tonight. I got some shows I want to watch. Thursday nights, she gets to stay up late because she doesn't work on Fridays. So the first thing she was like, oh, some on-screen, where you can skip the intro. It's got an on-screen channel. Plex does too, by the way.
Yeah.
She never saw it. Like it never, like, again, not a great Plex experience for her in that regard. And it really kind of should be. Now, listen, I heard when I put that in the Discord group, I heard from plenty of you like, I'm a Plex fan. I'm staying a Plex fan. I'm not doing anything else. You know what? You totally can. I don't want you to do something different. For me, Mike, it was just kind of thinking through like, what am I doing different, or what am I doing wrong? What could I be doing different? And maybe it's time to try something new. I set up channels on Sunday. I set it up because I was coming home from church listening to Josh and Richard. And I'm going to set this up now. So I set it up on the PC first. It's a 5-minute install, and it was working. Like it found my tuners, and configured them automatically. Like, no, I didn't have to set up anything. You know, in Plex, you go in there, you got to find them, discover it, goes through some things that
Scan the
download,
channels. Yeah.
scan, you got to do these things. Channels was flawless. Like, it's almost like it knew, you know, it's like, I'm going to do all the things right that Plex doesn't do
Right.
very well. So then I came down here and started running it. Now I ran it on a Core i3 530, so not a very powerful box. I'm doing some plotting with Bitcoin stuff, Chia coin. So it's busy and it worked just great. Got two windows going at the same time down here, no issues. Started setting up some recordings, no problem. In fact, the channel guide, let me just bring that up really quick as we kind of compare. And what I want to do is just spend a little time, Mike, kind of compare and contrast on this. This is their channel guide. This is the web version of it. The NVIDIA Shield version, the Android TV version, looks just like Plex. So if it's got the channel guide and all those other kinds of things. But I like the web version of this better. And it's simpler. Like Plex, you got like 8,000 options. You can do a ton of. It's like Plex came out of the day, and this is what happened. Plex came out of a day when this stuff was hard.
Yeah.
Right. So it's got all this legacy stuff in there to help you. And I'm just not sure you necessarily need all that stuff anymore. Come across here, what's on later. I've got a search capability in there if I just want to go in and search for that. My DVR setup and recordings that are there, things that have been recorded by that. If I want to click into it, I can just click on it. It'll bring me to it. Or if I have multiple episodes, it'll allow me to go into the recordings, and then I can see all the episodes that are there. So I think a really clean layout that allows you to kind of easily get to this information both on PC. They've got an app for both Android. I think you have to pay for that, but the iPhone one is free. And then of course running this on your computer is free as well. If you want the DVR functionality, a lot like Plex, it's $8 instead of $5. Are you paying? Did you buy a lot of our folks that listen bought a lifetime Plex license?
Yep, I'm the same way.
Okay. And that you know what, that's a consideration. Like, you probably spent, you remember how much you spent for that?
I think I got it on sale one year for like $150.
Yeah.
But I've been running Plex now for how many years?
Yeah.
So instantly worth it.
Yeah. No judgment there. Just kind of, those are some things to kind of take.
But that was actually my initial thought, was that seems steep for just guide data. Right? Mm-hmm. Like, it's not, I know they're providing the software to do it, but I thought $8 a month, like, oh man, that would have been my barrier to entry. Just because for Plex, I'm okay paying the $5 because it gets me a lot of functionality that the free version doesn't, right? For the overall server. So that was my only kind of like, oh man, that seems a little expensive. Plus they charge for the apps. $25 for the Android app.
For Android, the iPhone app is free, I believe.
Yeah,
I paid for that.
It is, and then Apple TV $25.
Yeah,
and then Android $25. Yeah,
right. This is the conversation Sarah and I had about paying for this. So she said, "Oh, how much you paying for Plex now?" I said $5. How much is channels? I said $8. It's basically free. Like that. Yeah. That was kind of the conversation, and you kind of go, yeah. Okay, that kind of makes sense. So they do the same thing, by the way. They do exactly the same thing. If you're on Plex and it's working for you,
the layout does look a lot nicer. I will say that was clean. Yeah, I think I'd agree with you.
Yeah, I think it's worth checking out. You can do you can try the free version, download it. It's supposed to integrate with your apps too. And this is one thing I haven't done is attach Hulu, attach the Amazon Prime. You're supposed to be able to attach those things and they show up for you.
See, that would be nice. Yeah. Well,
that's kind of my step this week.
And this sounds like a perfect solution for someone who doesn't run a full media server, but still wants the over-the-air stuff, right? I think this, like this sounds great for someone like my parents who I set up a Plex server for them and they never use it. I put all their movies on there for them and everything, and they don't, mainly because they have issues that they can't figure out, like goes to sleep, the computer goes to sleep and stuff like that. But this seems perfect for, hey, I don't want my movie, I don't have movies digitally stored, we use those online, but we just want OTA. This seems like a great solution for that.
Yeah, no, I
Much
can bring in
easier
my
than setting up a full Plex server.
I can bring in my media on this as well. So it'll play the
Oh,
various media.
really? Will we play
So
movies and everything and kind of
I
categorize those?
believe it will. So
Okay.
I haven't looked into that, but it was like, hey, if you have Plex stuff, you can import it. I was like, oh. No, I didn't go that far because I didn't want the sins of my Plex stuff from the past to
Right.
creep in here. Uh, just getting going on it. So there's a lot to learn around this. I'm going to be spending probably the next month. By the way, the first month is free, so you get full functionality the first month. And this was another. By the way, this is another thing that drives her crazy about Plex. It's hard to delete episodes when you're done. Like it's she just that
Really?
yeah, never. She wants to be when she's done watching it, go away, and that just doesn't happen. Now maybe I don't have a setting right on
Yeah, there's a
something that
setting in there.
that part never worked for us. They would always stay there. And so right now, live, I'm watching this. She just finished a show. It disappeared. Like it was gone. It's like, oh, okay. Well, that kind of works. Well, and again, Mike, this goes to the problem with Plex is it's so there's so many options, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
This is I'm kind of hoping, and this is what companies do is they start building this stuff and then they listen to every little bit of advice or feedback they get. And then pretty soon it's a monster and you
Mhm.
can't like, no, you're like, oh, you just can't find anything
And
in
then
there.
Channels just goes into the Plex forums and sees what everyone's complaining about. And like, oh, we're not going to do that. We're not going to do that.
You would certainly hope so. It's a problem. I'm watching StreamYard go through this right now, or they have been really, really StreamYard, what we're using to stream here. They've been really, really slow to adopt things and to add new features. Stability is their most important aspect of what they do. So they're really careful about what they put out. But they just got bought. Hopin, I think, is a company that does event planning, and they just bought them for $350 million or something
Oh,
like
wow.
that. Something those guys did all right. Gage and Dan did okay in that acquisition, but they were headed down that same path where they were getting more and more. So, what allows us to do these banners, the Patreon banners that are out there, the folks. And now that I started, got to let it go through all the way at least one time. So everybody gets represented in that. Paul Braren, you're last on, so we'll wait for your name to come up. But, they began to toy with some new capabilities that you're like, okay, now how do I get that video in there, or how do I stream that thing across, or how do I get the background working just right? I think Plex suffers from that same kind of outgrowth in its old code. I mean, Plex has been around a long time,
Right.
super old code. You said it yourself on the Xbox, it's junk. Like it's bad.
It's awful. It's
Yeah.
just straight up bad. Like, don't use it. And yeah, I would say, with Plex, it's hard because they also have things like the live TV that they're trying to do. Like they have their own offerings now, of like their own movie collection, their own live TV stuff, which I just thought completely cluttered the app. It was all movies that no one's going to want to watch anyway. At least that was my opinion of it. I don't know where hopefully they kind of reverse course on that. I honestly think it was just it's a CYA move for them for legality issues, right? I think they were getting put into a corner of, well, how do you promote putting any on here? Because any ownership of those movies would be in violation of some copyright, right? Because that means they ripped it off a Blu-ray, which technically you're not supposed to do. So I think they had to be like, well, no. Like we offer this other stuff. Like what our users do with the rest, but now we focus on bringing licensed content in. So I think that was their intent there. But the other thing, Jim, is, you shouldn't have to spend time A/B testing, but I would be very curious to A/B test running Plex on, the machine you installed channels on compared to the Shield. Because I've heard the others who I've heard that have ran it on the Shield have been having the same sort of issues as you. And I think that partnership between them was a good idea. And maybe for a very, very low power user who's not using things like live TV, just like, hey, I have some movie files and I'm watching, it could work. But I think the Shield is nowadays maybe a little underpowered for being the server itself.
I already did it, so that it didn't stay on the PC long.
It didn't work.
No. I on Sunday, so I installed it on the PC first, got it all working, and then I'm like, okay, this has got to go on the Shield. So I deleted it off the PC and I took it out to the Shield and installed it. And we're running it from the Shield.
Oh, you're running channels from the Shield.
Yeah, we're running channels.
Oh, and it works well.
Plex and channels running from the Shield. Yeah, no,
yeah.
it so far. Okay, we're gonna find out because Sarah's the power user. I watched a couple football games on Sunday with it. I watched a few recordings. I'm a big This Old House fan, so I recorded a few episodes of those and went back and watched them. No issues there. I did have some recording issues, but that was because of that. I was trying to record an Iowa station.
Yeah, a little too far away.
A little too far away. You could see the little digital pixelization.
Yeah.
Shows that come off so far, and I'm going to get some feedback from her here because she's watching the shows as we speak. But yeah, no, it's running on Plex, so I'm going to do the A/B testing and check out the wife acceptance factor
right
over the next couple weeks and be like, hey, does this work? Because it's just simpler. I mean, it really is. It's just for the average guy, Plex setup is easy. Channels is way easier. It just is. It's just not as complicated.
Oh, and my wife does not watch live TV on Plex, and I think she's mentioned before, it's just a little more complicated for me to get to what I want than YouTube TV, right? Like because we want all the cable channels for like Creighton basketball games and all that stuff. So we have YouTube TV, and that's her go-to. So I can definitely see your point. And that's what I think I mean is like, if you don't need the full benefits of a Plex server for all the other things it offers, this could be a great option for just over the air.
I love that combination of an NVIDIA Shield and a SSD drive on USB. It's just a super it is dedicated. I'm not going to I'm not going on an Unraid box that may be transferring files. It may be trying to do some backups, some of those kinds of things, or it's not taking up. I even thought I was going to put it on. I have a little Atom box here that, an older PC, and I was going to even put it on that with some storage, maybe pointed at the Drobo. And I was like, no, it's going to go on Shield. That's kind of where it belongs. That device has got some pretty good hardware in it for doing some of this stuff, and it should handle it just fine. So, I've done the PC days where I've set these media servers up on PCs. Then you got massive updates, and it's just one of those things like, no, I'm not going to do it on a PC. So we'll get a good test. We'll talk about it over the next couple weeks. We probably won't talk about it every show, but definitely, I mean, channels is a contender, and the fact that Richard Gunther gives it a thumbs up, like that's really what convinced me. I mean, Richard's a hard ass on some of these things. If it's not easy, if it doesn't work, and that dude watches a ton of TV. I don't know how he finds time. I think he has it on in the background,
right?
But he watches a ton of TV. If it's coming from him,
it works.
That's kind of what convinced me. Yeah, everybody else is like you said. I was like, I'll give it a pass. It's okay. I'm just a super user. No, Richard's gonna, if he doesn't like it, he's gonna tell you he doesn't like it. And so I was just like, I need to give this a shot. So we've got some work to do. I've got some work to do to kind of test it. I just don't watch enough TV. That's the problem.
Yeah.
I know it sounds weird, but I need to watch more TV.
Well, and it's funny because for my users that I share my Plex server with, one of their favorite, the most watched stuff is the things they have coming off the NVR. So they tell me, hey, can you add a recording for this show? So almost all the shows on there, I'm not the one who watches them. And they're all remote users outside the house, watch them over the internet connection. And they love it. I have become the over the air essentially person for them because now Plex doesn't allow you to let remote users watch live, which I think makes total sense because they'd be using up one of your tuners and it could mess up your recordings. But, all those over the air stuff, they records, and then that's just how they access it and they love it. But again, I think it comes down to what do you need, right? What services do you need? And, if that Shield works for you, that is a nice, tiny, compact, dedicated thing. And if it's got enough horsepower for the amount of transcode you're doing, then yeah, it's a perfect little box. I have fallen in love with those just from a media consumption device. We have now both of our main TVs that we watch stuff on, we've switched over to NVIDIA Shields, and they've been flawless. It's my favorite playback device.
Yeah,
my kids even know how to run it, and that says something. No. And the remote is usable for the kids. You want to tell my kid how to use an Apple TV remote, they'd be like, "No way, I can't even figure out how to use an Apple TV remote."
Yeah, Joe, I'm just using the Shield TV, not even the Pro, on mine. So it's whatever the $150 $29 one. I think that was the Shield TV. It's the one that looks like a jet engine, not a jet engine, a jet, like a stealth fighter in there. They have some new ones that are out as well. If you buy anything newer, of course, you're going to get some updated equipment on it. So yeah, so we'll give it a spin. Mike, I mentioned last week that I had bought a new cage for my Unraid box, and I showed it on the show. It's an icy dock cage. The box is too far away. 3 hard drive cage goes in a 2 5.25-inch bay. Really nice because it kind of gets you some space back. There's no doors on this cage, by the way. You just jam the hard drives in and they're just right there, which is kind of cool because you can label them and you're not opening a door. You also, like with you have kids hanging around. So
yeah. How does it keep pressure on the drives to keep them, make sure they're...
It's like friction in there. When you slide it in, it just kind of slides in and they don't go anywhere. It's actually, in the week I've been using it.
To get them out, do you have to push from the backside, or could you pull them out from the front?
Just pull them out from the front.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, you literally just grab them and just pull them, and they come right out. This is a $45 cage. We're not talking about, this is not the MIT of hard drive docks. Like this is a budget one, and it installed super easy. Did I mention it was $45? It installed super easy. It came with 3 SATA cables, which was super cool. You have 3 cables that come out, 2 power that come in. It's got lights on the front. Listen, if you're looking for a budget drive cage, it's a pretty good one for $45. So I'll throw a link in the show notes for it. But I thought, okay, while I'm doing this, I'm going to upgrade my Unraid box. And so I've been slowly finding all the 1 terabyte drives in the house and set up the parity as a 1.5, and then set up 4 1 terabyte drives in there. And man, that was fun. I mean, it was kind of like solving puzzles because I had to get those drives. I had little laptop drives in there to begin with, right?
Yeah.
And so I had to swap. Those wouldn't go in the cage. So I couldn't just put the cage in and put those in and then start swapping things. I had to kind of put the cage in, put some things in, jam them in some jankety positions to kind of hold things on, right? And then
you're doing it like Mike does, like I do things.
Yeah, kind of. I learned from you. But come on, if you're listening to this, you've done this before. And then I had to start it up, and it would say, "Okay, I didn't find this drive. Oh, there's a new drive." And so you would re-sign it, and then I'd have to build that drive from parity. By the way, I did that 4 times, and it worked every single time, which was, I mean, the great thing about RAID. Talk about drop dead simple and rebuilding parity, rebuilding your drives. I mean, if I can do that, and I can do it 4 times in a row successfully, it's freaking saying something.
It works really well. Yeah.
So it's a little long, like the process, because you're rebuilding those drives. So 1 terabyte drive, 4 hours. So I'd put it in, get it rebuilding, walk away for a while, right? But got it up and running. All the apps still continue to work. Like, I was super proud of myself when I was like, holy cow, I did not nuke this thing. Because usually I nuke it, right? That's right. You get in the middle of this thing and kind of nuke it. So so the next step, I am making it kind of a Chia server for this plotting that we're doing. So some files are going to go on it, but I really need to get Home Assistant kind of back on it as well. You've done some things around that. Talk a little bit about your Home Assistant / RAID stuff that you've been working on.
Yeah, so we talked, I think it was last week, I did mention that I ended up getting those little remote sensors, the Zigbee sensors that I had ordered from China, finally came in, and I had just kind of started playing with them last week, and I was reporting they were working pretty well. I've kind of really fallen more in love with those in the past week, but I also had an issue that I needed to solve for. So I figured if any of you guys are having the same issue, and the issue I had was, obviously, the Zigbee USB stick that I got for my Home Assistant was the really cheap $3 one. It doesn't even have an enclosure. It looks like if you have a USB thumb drive and you took off the plastic and you just see the actual chip in the USB. I mean, that's what this thing looks like. It is like bare bones. It was $3 from China for a little Zigbee controller. And so that thing obviously doesn't have a huge antenna. I mean, the antenna is built into the chip, so not that big at all. So, I mean, as you guys can guess, range was an issue for me. And especially because I'm running Home Assistant on my Unraid server, which is in a big, tall industrial server rack I got, from Surplus, a company going out of business. So that's a lot of metal around that thing. Plus, where my server rack sits is right below where all my main air conditioning ducting runs. So, I mean, there's a lot of metal, and I don't have many sensors on this basement level. They're all upstairs. So the signal was okay, but there would be times where it wouldn't trigger because I could tell it was just too far away. It was kind of like Jim was talking about earlier with TV coverage. When you're just too far away, you're going to get, some errors. So, I was trying to figure out a few different solutions. So there's two things I was going to bring up. One is a really kind of just cheap and simple solution. And that was, I got a 15-foot USB extension cable. So I got a 15-foot USB extension cable plugged into the back of the Unraid box, ran the cable all the way up and out of the server rack. And since I'm in an unfinished basement, I just tucked it up into one of the joists, right? And just nailed it up there. And so now that sits essentially right at floor level for my upstairs level. And that helped a ton. Like that alone, getting it out of the server rack, especially if you have one of the cheap controllers, really helped. But I think the other one that's probably more applicable to everyone here, if you're running Zigbee devices, you can actually get certain Zigbee devices that act as essentially repeaters. I think the word they use in Zigbee language is actually routers. I think they're all routers, but I'll just call them repeaters just for the sake of ease. So certain devices, the ones that are going to be plugged in all the time, not running off battery, can act as repeaters. So if you guys look at the show notes there, we'll put the link, but I found these little smart plugs, and let's see, what is the brand on these? I was going to look at it real quick. CMARS, so CMARS, smart plugs from Amazon, super cheap, $23 for two of them. And these are the ones that will actually act as a repeater or an extender, as they call it here. And what's really cool is I'll actually pull it up as I'm talking here. But in Home Assistant, when you get it up and running and you do it via Zigbee to MQTT, which is the recommended way to get Zigbee integrated into Home Assistant, let me pull it up here and show you. It's really cool because, let me share screen. Okay. Here we go. Okay, so when you do the Zigbee to MQTT integration, it's actually not integration, it's one of the add-ons. If you go to Open Web UI here, you can see the different devices that I have that are connected in via Zigbee. And it actually automatically pulls in. So that's exactly what the motion sensors look like. And here's the plug. So I have one of the plugs installed. And this is essentially the signal strength. So the higher the number, the better in this column. Now, for me, I ordered the extension cable and the repeater at the same time. And I found out the extension cable for me was actually the solution. Just getting it up and out of that thing was fine. But what you can do is you can go to this map and you can load the map. And what this does is it shows you your different devices and how they're connected. So right now you can see that all of my devices are actually natively connecting in to the hub. So I was playing around with this a little bit and I was testing it. So I moved one of these devices really far away into a place I don't need it, but I moved it far away. And then what it showed in the map was it was connecting to the router and then back in. So it was connecting over to this plug and then the plug in, so it's kind of cool how you can go in and see, and it shows you a signal strength here. You can see like how they're all connected. So if you had a really advanced Zigbee configuration, if you have these devices all over a house, especially a 2-story house, getting a few of these plugs and plugging one in on the main level, maybe one in on your basement level, could really help out when it comes to getting connection to all your different devices. But it was just a really kind of interesting. I had not played around with Zigbee. I'm sure a lot of you have. If you're into Zigbee, you're into Zigbee, but this is kind of dipping my toe into it. And it's weird because I came at this from a Home Assistant first perspective. Like the first time I'm playing with Zigbee is Home Assistant, right? Where a lot of other people I think have been using the proprietary, whether it's, Samsung or they've been using other hubs outside of Home Assistant, and then they're trying to integrate Zigbee into Home Assistant, whereas I see this almost as like a native integration for me. I have never used any of the other third-party applications. The first time these devices connected to anything, they were connecting to Home Assistant, and it works so well. So now, Jim, I have one in our hallway that leads from my kid's room kind of into the main, because he comes out of his bed a lot at night and it's just so dark, and that's where all the shoes are stored and he's constantly tripping over stuff. So now I just have a motion sensor. The 2 lights in the hallway are hue lights, and when he comes out, it just turns those up to 25%. And then it turns them right back off after it stops sensing motion. And my wife really loves that also in the laundry room, because she's like, it's because we are notorious for forgetting to turn off the laundry room light. And it's a big overhead light. And that is done with the TP-Link smart switch. So you walk in, it turns on. And as soon as it stops sensing motion, it turns it off. And it works great for now, controlling, especially energy spend, things like that. And just convenience of not having to remember to turn that stuff off. It's been working really well. So those repeaters and extension cable, kind of 2 little suggestions if you're having range issues on your Zigbee. And I'm guessing there would be the same thing for Z-Wave, but I'm not 100% sure.
It's good to know the specialty of those, because you may not know that right off the bat. Like that may not be intuitive, but nice to know that. I mentioned last week, so you're talking about lighting. I mentioned last week I had ordered a little $12 LED light about this big.
Yeah.
By the way, LED, you don't need much. Like,
no,
freaking bright, and they use very little power, right? And so it came in, and so 2 screws up in the garage, and then I took that TP-Link plug that I had, plugged it in, took the motion sensor on the Echo Flex, plugged that in. So now I have the lady in the garage, and set up when it said, okay, when you sense motion, turn the light on. And then when you don't sense motion for 5 minutes, turn it off. You do that in the Amazon app.
Oh, really?
Yeah, super
That's
easy.
cool.
Like,
okay.
Yeah, like super easy. Because I had this thought as we've been talking about Home Assistant. I was like, I'm running Home Assistant for some things, and then I've taken it down. I'm trying to do what you're doing with the version you're running it on, because I'm running a different version than you're running, right?
Yeah, you're running the Docker version, which does not have the supervisor, which lets you do add-ons. So you would need to spin up a VM on your Unraid box instead of running it in Docker.
So I'll probably need to call you to figure that out. But I was thinking, like, so what's an average guy thing on this? Like, if you can't run Home Assistant, holy cow, the power that's inside the Amazon app for the A-Lady, I won't say it because it'll set everybody's off.
Yeah.
Is really good now. And you've got that kind of granular control to say, hey, when you get this, so I bought that motion sensor, just plugs right into the bottom of the Flex. And then on the app, whenever it senses motion, it just says, I sense motion, and then I don't sense motion. And so you can do some stuff with that. So open the door, senses motion, light comes on. Or you can say, hey, A-Lady, turn the garage light on, and it comes on. Or turn it off, right?
Yeah.
And so we're kind of covered there. Like, I mean, it's stuff I already had. It's stuff I already knew. I didn't have to set up I didn't have to set up Home Assistant to get it done. No, I wonder if I can compete with Mike and be like, everything you do in Home Assistant, I can do in the A-Lady app.
Yeah.
And because I really like that. Again, I think that's more of an average guy solution than what we're doing with Home Assistant. I think that's a little more advanced. Although Home Assistant's drop dead easy too.
Yeah,
like
it really is.
It's not that hard.
No. And I think you bring up a really good point, because Jim, I was in the same boat where you just whatever's easiest, utilize that option, right? So I use Home Assistant for things that I can't accomplish anywhere else. But for example, when I did this new background that I got, you'll notice there's blue light shining down. Well, all it's a hue light that's shining specifically in a certain direction. And during the day for work, that's actually more of a yellow color. But I was like, hey, for podcasts, I kind of want to set the mood a little different, have it blue. And I was trying in Home Assistant to figure out just literally Thursday at 7, turn that thing to blue. But changing color and hue in Home Assistant I was like, wait, I've literally spent 2 minutes too long on this when I can just go to the Hue app, and Hue has a routine that I already have to have the hub for Hue anyway. I just set the routine Thursday at 7, turn it, Thursday at 10, turn it back to the other color, and I was done. And it was a good reminder to myself to always just utilize the easiest option. You don't get a trophy for utilizing one system for everything, right?
You don't?
I know, as much as we all like to think you do, you don't. Jim, the other example of that is exactly like you said with A-Lady. If you guys remember the set the mood scene that I talked about last week, where since I have a TP-Link switch on my fireplace, it turns off the lights in the living room, turns on the fireplace, and starts to play smooth jazz out of A-Lady. Well, that was just easiest to do in A-Lady, right? Because Home Assistant integration with playing music to a certain device in your library and blah, 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 blah. I had that set up in 2 seconds on A Lady and figured out how to do that in Home Assistant. And I'm like, I don't need to. I already have those ecosystems in the house. Now, if for some reason in the future I want to get rid of an ecosystem, yeah, then let's start to figure out different ways. But I mean, I do automations all over the place. It is starting to become, I might need a classic gym Excel sheet for where I keep each automation, just to remember, like, wait, the lights aren't turning on at night. Where is that automation? What, because I need to figure out where it's broken, what something's broken here. But I think I've got it pretty much unified down to Home Assistant's my core, my go-to. If there's something else that involves an A Lady device, then typically that's where that's at. Or if it's a hue light, now I know that a lot of those are going to be over. If it's changing a color, it's going to be in the hue light. If it's just turning them on or off to a certain percentage, then we put it in Home Assistant.
That's a really good way to divide that, because there are sometimes in the app there's some more functionality in there. It's just easier to
Correct
do than it is in some of the integration pieces.
Yep.
But you're right. I got a bunch of comments last week. I mentioned that spreadsheet that I built for all the hard drives. Listen, that's surprisingly helpful when you need to, like, okay, what is that drive and how fast is it? And like, what's the last test on it? I mean, I'd love for that spreadsheet to be a service, not just a spreadsheet where it's constantly, like once a day it pings the hard drives and it's like, hey, what are you? How are you running? How are you feeling about yourself? Now, I'm sure that in the enterprise space, I'm sure this exists. I just don't want to buy an enterprise piece of software.
Yeah.
Type deal. So, man, that's something that needs to get on home automation is your hard drives. Like, imagine if they had if you could connect to them and they would tell you space. And I mean, I connected our printer. I bought one of those $7 HP printers that you can get at Walmart. That's super cheap. I think it was $25, just to be honest. Now the printer ink is $1 million, but you get, it's actually, I think printer ink prices have come down a little bit, just to be honest. Like I think the gig is up on that thing, but I had attached that to Home Assistant and I got this message from Home Assistant. It was like, hey, your printer ink is low. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. It was monitoring it for me and let me know. Sure enough, it was down to 20%, and Sarah ran it out of the other 20% before I could get to Walmart and get a replacement for it. But you could do that in the, okay, this is kind of the reverse of this. I could do that in the HP app on my phone if I wanted to, but why would I ever be in my HP app? Like, why would I ever grant that thing access to my phone, to be honest? It could alert me. That would be much better done in Home Assistant.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, getting anywhere you don't need third-party access. I mean, obviously the big benefit of Home Assistant sometimes is that you don't even need access to the cloud. But even for Home Assistant, for all of the other ones that you could run all the other software, typically it's a lot of times going to ping the cloud service, right? It's going to try and do it locally if it can, but if it can't, it's going to need cloud. So yeah, I mean, I try. My biggest thing, like you, Jim, is eliminating all the extra apps on your phone. Okay, right? Like the less of those I have, the better. So now if all I need is Hue, A Lady, and Home Assistant, and really the Hue app, I really access just to set up the routine and then done. I could probably delete it off most of my devices. I open it up just to set up that. And that was the first time I'd opened that app in probably a year. But just paring those down.
That app is like a set of Allen wrenches. You use them for a very specific purpose and you really need it once a year.
And my Home Assistant app is my garage door opener because I tap that NFC code in my car and then it just pops up. I hate how, by the way, just a gripe. Why does Apple make us tap the notification when you have an NFC tag that you click? Like Android, for my Android fellow parts, if they just tap their phone on it, they could just literally tap it and throw the phone on their seat and it would do whatever it was supposed to do. For me, it's tap, then look at it, tap the notification, it launches Home Assistant, and then my garage door closes. It's just like, it's such an unnecessary thing. Like the whole point of NFC is like that quick, easy, I don't need to confirm, or I get the security risk there, but once I've done it once, say, hey, in the future for this specific NFC tag, do you want me to just do that in the background? I'd be like, yes, please. Just
it would be nice.
Confirm it the first time, right? Because I don't want my phone automatically doing things as I'm walking around and getting close enough to NFC stuff. I get it, but give us the option to turn that off after we trust a sticker.
It thinks you're an intruder and it shocks you.
Yeah, it does.
Tony says, used my printer for weeks after the initial warning. I was hoping to as well, but Sarah was not printing that day. She literally took it. Now it was one of those little budget, for $15, you can get like this will print like 3 sheets of paper. You can get that from Walmart, and that's what I had in there because we weren't doing a lot of printing. So why am I going to buy one of the big ones, right? Where it's like $400 an ounce. So so she started printing, and she brought a piece of paper back, and she was like, "Should it look like this?" And I'm like, "Nope. Home Assistant just told me you ran out of ink, and I got to go." I said I can order one. This was funny. So I said I can order one on Amazon, have it here tomorrow. She's like, "I need to print today." Well, going to Walmart, right? And down the street. Fortunately, we have a Walmart really close. Down the street, popped in there. Nobody in the electronics section during a pandemic at 10 in the morning. So got the guy, sold it to me for, I think it was $23. I don't think it was terribly expensive. Slapped that in there. She printed 2 papers and has 2 sheets and hasn't printed anything since. Like,
but you'll be ready for the next wave of printing.
Universe. Well, it's just funny, Mike, because printers are the last thing on my mind. Like when it comes to technology, we used to talk a ton about printers and all those kinds of things. And I used to have a big sat right up here, a big printer. It was an HP printer, scanner, did duplex. Like it was fancy. And like I couldn't remember the last time I even thought about a printer until she had to work from home and print some things.
Yeah, same here. Hannah's usually the most, because when she started her teaching gig, that's when I got, because I set up the Raspberry Pi as a cup server because we have our favorite printer we will never get rid of is an old HP LaserJet. And it prints so fast, prints double-sided, just cranks through pages, but obviously no network connectivity. I don't even know what year this thing was made. So we just plug that into a Raspberry Pi, run cups on there, and now it's a network printer. We can even print from our iPhone. The iPhone just picks it up as a printer. Super easy. But isn't it funny, Jim, how I didn't even think about the printer stuff until Home Assistant suggested it. It's like, hey, we found this on your network. I'm like, oh, that's kind of nice, right? I don't think either of us would have thought, hey, we should connect our printer in. And then it's like, oh, with that suggestion. I did miss one question from Brian. I'm assuming this was back when I was talking about Zigbee. He asked, could we potentially extend them outside, say if you have a big yard? I think you totally could. I think it really just depends on how many extenders you have, what kind of hub you have. If you have the one that I have, the super cheap one without antennas, you will probably just need maybe a repeater or 2. But the range has been pretty darn good from what I've seen. I was initially just shocked I could get connectivity a floor above with no antenna and just a little USB stick. Because the antenna on the USB stick is just it's like a one little wire on the chip. You can see it on the very end. And I think I think someone made I can't find it real quick, but someone made a comment of it's my ham radio coming out of me. It was Ron. There it is. And I was like, yeah, a little bit. I got my antenna expectations. I'm like, I could run a really big wire across the house for Zigbee devices. I could just make a massive antenna for this stuff.
Zigbee. Like, what's that wire? Well, we hang clothes on it and it's a Zigbee.
Hannah actually asked that question. She goes, if you're going to have this big ham radio antenna in your back, like we should just lower it and be able to like hang our clothes on it. I'm like, yeah.
Right. Nobody hangs clothes anymore. Nobody does.
We do.
Do you?
Not outside, inside.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, we don't dry much. We hang dry almost everything.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sarah's got some stuff back here that she does that, but most stuff gets
all the kid stuff gets dried and stuff like that, but a lot of our like pullovers and shirts and stuff, we hang dry it.
We was doing some so last week I mentioned some apps that were super helpful, and we didn't spend a ton of time on them, and I'm not going to do that now, but there was 2 in particular I had that we didn't talk about last week that have great use to me. And this week they have, they're like those Allen wrenches. You only need them every once in a while, but man, when you need them bad. One was I was trying to figure out what kind of RAM I needed. I was thinking about maybe upgrading one of my older boxes and putting more RAM in it. And I was like, I've totally forgotten what kind of motherboard that's in there. Now, I should have a spreadsheet for that. I know. Maybe I'll add that. But Belarc, Belarc, Belarc is a inventory piece of software that I've been using for years. It goes all the way back to my time at the bank. So that would have been 2003. And it's an inventory piece of software, and you download it and use it. Kevin Schoonover's talked about this every time he's on and talks about apps. He talks about Belarc. And one of the things Belarc does really well, it inventories your software, but it also inventories your hardware. And so it told me, hey, this is your motherboard in there. This is what you got. I didn't have to go in and look. I didn't have to tear the box apart. Didn't have to take it off the rack and bring it down. And then I was just able to copy and paste that and start looking, kind of looking at it. And it tells you what kind of RAM you have in what positions, which is kind of nice. How many do you have? What's available there? Some of those kinds of things. So that was a really, as I was doing some inventories, I ran that on a couple different PCs just to kind of see, without having to break the thing open.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of told me what was in there. You can also do it software inventory. And then another one that and I'm going to show this one because I think we've all used this at some time or another. Let's actually find the screen share. But it's one of these kind of things that I come back to. I was a little worried about temperatures and some of those kinds of things. I've been running a bunch off the CPU and the GPU, just to be honest. And so CPU ID, it's a hardware monitoring tool. It's been around forever. But Mike, I think it's just one of those apps that just continues to work really well. They make some updates to it. It does its thing, right? They update it for CPUs, new CPUs that are coming out, new GPUs and stuff like that. But kind of breaks it down by temperature. I minimize some things. You can minimize the fans. I don't really care what speed my fans are running at. But if you did care, utilization is there as well. This is also, it'll tell you like what's my CPU that's in there. BellArc will tell you that as well. But this will give a little inventory like, oh, okay, what do I have in there? What kind of hard drives do I have? I talked about that ATTO tool last week as far as doing a kind of a hard drive inventory and telling you kind of all the smart stats of your hard drives. This CPU ID kind of gives you just a little overview, more temps and utilization and some of those kinds of things, but a pretty cool tool for just getting that quick inventory. And
it's quick, right? That's exactly. So when we built my mother-in-law's computer, my brother-in-law was like, well, should we install a rain meter? Because him and I are huge rain meter people. We have those rain meters customized over on the side of our screen, and we love it. I'm like, you know what? She's never going to need to look at that. This is really just for us to make sure things are going okay. And so this is what we settled on too. We just installed CPU ID on there. It gets quick and easy. It gets us the information we want. We were testing thermals, making sure everything was good. It didn't need to go the full route of doing rain meter.
Yeah, and it's got min max, and it keeps those until you delete them.
Yep.
And you can. So if you were going to run it, burn it in, do some things, you could. It's the thing I like about it. It's total average guy. Like it's you install it, you open it up. You don't need to know anything. You don't need to configure anything. You don't need to let anything have access to anything, which is a little scary, just to be honest. It finds everything and brings back kind of what I need is sometimes I just need to know, man, what was the model number of that thing? Like, what's the model in there? What did I put in there? What CPU is in there again? Right?
Mm-hmm.
What kind of RAM did I put in there? I had to go. I couldn't remember the RAM. I actually went back to my Amazon purchases first. So
that's what I do too.
I bought that RAM in like 2016, I think maybe in 2014, and I was like going through, and actually I couldn't remember the year. How did I think? Oh, I went to the blog and I put that in to find out when I talked about it. And then I was like, oh, we talked about this in 2014. Okay, I'll go back to Amazon to see the exact, is it still available now? No, of course it's not because it's old. So I went on eBay and it's not terribly inexpensive to put in. I have a laptop that I bought from work for like $50. And it's a Core i5, I want to say 6300. That could be wrong, but it's a mobile processor. It came with 8 gig of RAM, which today is really the minimum for Windows, just to be really honest. So I did I was like, I wonder if I could put 8 more in there. So I went to the Dell site on it. It found itself and said, oh yeah, you have this kind of thing. Here's the specs for it. So I went into the specs. Found out that it supports up to 16 gig. Here is what you need to put in there. And then they had a teardown video, which was super cool on the site, at Dell site, that showed you how to tear it down. Like, okay, take this off, take this part, and this, they have things you can replace: battery, RAM, hard drive. That's got an NVMe in it.
Right.
SSD, unfortunately. It's an M2 SSD, not NVMe. It's an M2 SSD. Oh, by the way, just a quick correction. I do have a Shield Pro, not the Shield TV. I said that earlier. Just I'll sneak that in so I don't feel so stupid. But So I took that serial number, and that the model and the serial, and I went on eBay, and they had the 8 gig upgrade was $30. Well, you say yes to $30 every time, right?
Yeah.
There's just no question. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to upgrade this laptop. Came in a couple days, plugged from Nevada, not China, which was super cool. Plugged it in, spun it up, did mem test 86 on the thing, and ran it for a couple. It goes through a couple iterations. It's perfect. I was like, man, that's the best $30 I ever spent. So
Yeah. I need to do that on a few of my old machines that are getting a little long in the tooth.
Right? Yeah, RAM this may be a good time to get old RAM. I don't know why. I've been looking on eBay and it's actually been fairly reasonable. So if you have a box that's 3 or 4 or 5 years old, sometimes you go to buy that stuff and it's already out of life to the point where it's expensive. But you might want to check for your equipment, right? Run some inventories, look at some stuff. If you're running 4, you're running Windows on it, it's probably a bad experience. At least 8. Some older boxes, check and make sure what you can actually upgrade to. Some of them have limits. I've got one that's got a 16, the laptop and other things have 16 gigs. Some go to 32, some go to 64. But this may be a time, for whatever reason. I talked about this last week. Man, if you need hard drive space and you're willing to go 3 and 4 terabyte drives, they're pretty reasonable, like $50, right? I mean, $40-$50 to get 3 or 4 more terabytes of data.
Yeah, worth it.
Yeah, now may be a good time. So if you're in that space and you didn't get it for Christmas, maybe now is the time to do it. Brian says he just updated the RAM on his iMac. Came with 8. Now he has 64.
I love the iMacs that have that little tray on the bottom where you could upgrade the RAM. That was back in the day. That's what I did on my iMac as well.
Mike says Bellark, an oldie but goodie, and I used to know those guys over there at Bellark. They're out of Boston, and worked with them for a lot of years. Yeah, that is pretty great. Mike, we'll wrap it with this. So I'm talking to Ed Sullivan on Sunday. We're lighting candles together, and he says he bought the newest the Pro iMac Pro. What's the laptop? It's not
the MacBook Pro.
MacBook Pro, the new one
with the M1 chip.
Yeah, for like $1,500. Like, he goes and he benched it against. He's got the beautiful 5K from a couple years ago. That's the big Mac, whatever.
The iMac.
Yeah. 64 gig of RAM, and it's beautiful. And he goes, they basically benchmark the same.
Really?
16 gig of RAM. 64 gig of RAM, processor to processor, very similar benchmarks. Like,
wow,
that's how good. And I was like, so I said, maybe I'd be in the market for a new laptop. And he goes, oh my God, like the world will collapse at a singularity. Uyghur is all Windows and you're buying a Mac. What the?
But as a laptop, I think, Jim, it would actually be a really good solution for you. There's a few things that, you have I would never recommend you go to Mac desktop, because when you sit down at that studio right there, you have your workflow. But when you're mobile, you're not doing all the crazy stuff you need to be doing there. And even if you were, you could probably learn how to do it on Mac. But for having iMessage on there and everything, my buddy just ordered that same. He got the MacBook Pro 13-inch M1, and it was only $1,300. So not bad.
256 with a gig of RAM. You can get that for $999.
Can you?
Yeah.
Is that the Air? That might be the Air.
I don't know. Listen, I'm not a Mac guy. Don't ask me Mac questions.
But the M1 chip is pretty cool, though.
I was throwing stuff out just hoping you knew what I was talking about. But it's got me kind of thinking, like, I got some Bitcoin money in my pocket, and I'm kind of like, new Mac, this would be pretty great. Sarah would steal it. Yeah, you're probably right.
Because it's just slick.
Yeah, I'd do what Ed did, and I'd buy I think he bought the 512 16 gig model. It doesn't have the track bar, that's not what they called it. What was the bar up?
Touch bar.
Touch bar.
So this must be the Air then you're talking about.
Okay.
Because the Pros all have the touch bar.
I think it's the Air. Yeah.
Yep.
again, I know nothing about Macs. He was telling me about this, and I'm like, oh, well, this
Mhm.
sounds interesting. This could be a nice little piece of equipment that
Yeah.
I probably would never use, just to be honest.
Maybe, yeah. Because
I can't use
mine,
Word.
luckily, Hannah started teaching, so I didn't feel bad about my laptop purchase. Because we have I mean, I can't remember how many years old now. It is 2 or 3 years old Mac laptop. That now it's her dedicated laptop for teaching. So I didn't feel as guilty building this nice gaming rig.
Tony says M1 with Parallels running Windows. No, I don't think you can run Windows yet on it. I don't think Parallels is working from what I've heard. I don't think that emulation they've got that all the way down yet. But I this is going to sound blasphemous, Mike. Listen, I'm apologizing in advance. I wouldn't run Windows. Like if I bought a Mac, I'd go native.
Yeah.
I'd figure it out. Like I would learn, because you're right. Like what I would need it now. So you got me thinking. Like what I need it for, if I was going to replace the studio PC, I could totally use that to replace exactly what I'm doing right now. I do this, which is browser based.
Mm-hmm.
So
Works on any machine.
yeah, all this stuff, all this gear that I have will plug into it just fine, right? I could get a dock for it or something to run these monitors, because I would want to run down here. I'd want to run the monitors.
Yep.
I want to get that off the. Laptop screen's a little too small. And I would need it to. Let's see. I use Audacity. I think they have a Mac version of that, so that would probably work just fine. Man, everything else I do. Oh well, I do some video editing, so I would need to learn.
Oh, iMovie is like the easiest thing ever.
Yeah, I
It's
use
free.
Movie Maker, and
Yeah.
I'd switch over. So I may have to learn one app. Everything else is in the cloud, right? I move that AIF file to Alphonic, and it makes it an MP3 for me. That's all on the web.
And Audacity works on Mac. I know that. I've ran it.
Like I wouldn't. I mean, and I surf the web. Like I wouldn't really use, and it would integrate with my phone and my watch.
You might really like it, because then it's totally undockable too. Go upstairs and you just want to lay in bed or sit on the couch with Sarah or something, or you're out in the back patio having a candle, then you could have your full suite on that machine.
Yeah. Yeah.
There was one more topic I wanted to bring up real quick before we wrap up. I don't know if you guys saw this, but if you guys are Unraid users, Unraid, go to their blog. Their top post right now is about how the ultimate Unraid dashboard has been updated. So there's these guys that maintain a Grafana dashboard for Unraid, and it is amazing and like drop dead simple to install. You just need the Telegraph Docker, Grafana Docker, and InfluxDB. And if you in this post from Unraid, they actually have a link to the guys who make it and just a step-by-step how to install it. But I'll share my screen just super quick and show you like my favorite part about this. So you can get it up and running in seconds. If you have Unraid, I'd suggest just putting it on there. And the coolest part for me is up top, it connects into the UPS. So if you have a UPS on your machine and it's connected via USB, so it's pulling in how much power it's using. Now my UPS is running my entire server rack, so it's actually even cooler. So this is the energy usage for my server. Well, up top, you just plug in like how much kilowatt per hour price in your area. And so this is actually so this has only been running for 2 days. But since then, it's calculating what your average usage is. So far, what have you used? Obviously, CPU usage is something you get on the main dashboard with Unraid, but some of the things you don't, that you kind of get baked in here. So you get your growth of your array per day, per year. So how much data have we been adding to that array? Kind of tells you your average. Okay, per year, how much have I been adding? So like today, I deleted some files, so I went down. But then over the course of the week, I've added a few gigs. And then gives you all your disk data, everything you need, but just really cool. Some of the big updates is they added, and I haven't gone it because I really don't need it because I use Tatuli, but you can add in all your Plex monitoring here as well. But this was like a one-click install. You literally just install Telegraph. In Grafana, they have you just plug in the number they have with Grafana, like the template, and it pulls it right in. And I loved it. I thought it was super cool, super easy. If you're an Unraid user, you might as well fired up. Those things take no CPU at all. So having those Dockers running extra. And then you can access that from anywhere because it's browser based. So you're just pulling up that dashboard wherever you want. I even, of course, had to go and put it into my reverse proxy. So I can now access that from my URL from anywhere. So if I ever am back in the office at work, I can check in and on my machine. So I thought it was really cool.
Wait a minute, Uyghur. You're telling me that looks better than this? Come on.
In some ways it does, some ways it doesn't, right? Like for the most part, the Unraid dashboard's so clean and easy. I like that.
It really is. This is when I remember coming to Unraid and being like, oh, this looks super cool, right?
Yeah.
So, but
it's the extra stuff, right? It's the UPS monitoring. It's the
will it monitor 2 UPSs? If I plug in both USB, will it find both of them?
That's a really good question. I don't know.
Yeah, that's the thing. I need them both. Like I need because today I just have like one UPS powers everything on this side of the desk. The other UPS covers everything in the rack. And
well, just plug one UPS into the other and then monitor the top of the chain and you'll get data from both.
Just burn it out. I got to replace the batteries. One of them is down to like 3 minutes. I got that message. Like it tests okay, but it's like you got if this thing goes bad, you got 3 minutes, which is not enough, right? So I bought 2 batteries, but I got these processes running. Ken and I are working on this farming, and I got these processes. I don't want to shut off the processes because, like,
right.
So you're like, well, okay. So I'm kind of waiting for a catastrophic failure, so that I'm like, okay, I better change the batteries while I'm at it. Mike said I should stop rationalizing and just buy the Mac. So I might. I gotta think about this. Because I'll be honest. The Studio PC is a 6-year-old 4770 Core i7 4770. It's a good computer. It's got 16 gig of RAM. But man, compared to that, like I always build my computers, but this would give me an opportunity to just put it in on maybe one of the best chips we have seen in a long time.
I think it's a really good option. Something you should definitely consider.
And it's media. Like it's a like that's all I do on it is media. Mm-hmm. So okay. Well,
the only thing you would be in Hub City, right? Because I think those MacBook Airs only have 2 USB Type-C ports.
Yeah, I would have to get
you'd have to get some sort of dock, right? And those aren't cheap on the Mac side, so factor that in. But
nothing's cheap, Uyghur.
No,
nothing is cheap on.
Well, and you wouldn't even get the one directly through Apple, but even just like there's a lot of different brands out there.
Speaking of that, have you bought any MagSafe stuff for your phone?
No, so I still just have the wallet. I want to get the charger just to try it out because I don't know if you've seen the car, the vent mounts and stuff you can get on Amazon are ingenious. They take the actual charger that you already have and kind of put it in there. So all it is essentially a mold.
I know. I need to do it. I need to stop. I'm never in my car.
I know that's my problem. That's why I'm not motivated to do it. I take the boys to school in the morning, come back, and like it's not even long enough of a distance for me to put my phone up anywhere.
It's 50% at the end of the day. Like I'm like, why would I even charge this thing? Like it's just fine. Great phone, by the way. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to buy it when we did. So
works well. I've been liking mine too.
Well, we'll do some post show, but thanks if you've stayed this late, you're probably in the top 1% of our engaged listeners that are out there. Thanks for doing that. Big thanks to our Patreon folks that support us at a $5. There's a few of you who are less than that, by the way. Don't feel like you have to go $5. If you're going to jump on the bandwagon now, it is $5 to get in. But we appreciate you, and thanks for doing that as well. Thanks for all those guys that do that, and we appreciate you. Your name is scrolling now on the video, so if you want to see it, you can. I mentioned everybody a little bit earlier. Big thanks to Christian over at Maple Grove Partners. Get secure, reliable, high-speed hosting from people that you know and you trust. And that's Christian. He's doing a bang-up job. And certainly the average guy at TV is lightning fast. And so head over to maplegrovepartners.com. Plans start as little as $10 a month. That gets you a ton for $10. $5 more, I think, get you email. And he'll get you set up and get you rolling in a great kind of way. If you want to join us in the Discord group, theaverageguy.tv/Discord, if you want to leave a message for the show, we'd love some funny messages, by the way. So if you have a little humor in you, we'd love to break up the show with your comments. So you can do that super easy now. Head over to homegadgetgeeks.com. There's a little microphone in the bottom right-hand corner. Click on it and leave your message. I'd actually take some Baba Booies. You know, it would be kind of fun to intersperse you in with the show on this. This is something we're going to try here in 2021 to get you more involved. Many of you are already involved in a great way in the chat room. And so thanks for doing that as well. But if you want to leave us a message, homegadgetgeeks.com, get that done. You can reach me, Jim, at theaverageguy.tv. Find Uyghur on Twitter, although you don't use Twitter that much, do you? Uyghur Tech?
I monitor a lot more than I actually tweet. So yeah, but that's the best place to reach me publicly, I would say. So yeah, if you want to tweet at me, I monitor it all the time.
Super cool. And I'm at Jake Allison. If you want to do that, I'm in the same way. Tony, thanks for all the tweeting. If you want to follow, you got to follow AW Rayner. Like there's no better tweeter.
I'm always curious to see the notification pop up for what picture, because I like my facial expression in some of them it's either good or real bad.
Yeah, he's the best at tweeting the show.
I love it.
He gets the best tweeter award from us as well. We are live every Thursday, 8 p.m. Central, 9 Eastern, out here at theaverageguy.tv/live. We appreciate you guys that come out live. If you can't come out live, thanks for listening to the recording. Thanks for staying this long in what we do. We'll be back next Thursday with some more updates as well. Mike and I are actually having a ton of fun at the moment. I think, Mike, to be honest, this is the most tech you and I have done together in a while. Like for whatever reason, we've kind of caught the bug again, and it won't last forever. We'll get Aaron back, and we'll get all the other guest hosts back on. But it's been kind of fun since you brought up Home Assistant. It's been kind of fun to just kind of crush it. So
it spars those different topics too, right? Like you're diving back into upgrading your Unray box, which gets you into what kind of adapters do I need, and do I need a new computer? Like it's a whole chicken and egg scenario, which you're right, I've been really enjoying too.
Yeah, it's been good. We'll be back next Thursday with more of it. With that, we'll say goodbye, everybody. Oh man, just in time, I ran out of beer.
I realized when I shared my screen that I showed my URL, which I said was, so y'all can try and get in. Don't worry, I don't have the default password on. You can all try and get into. Okay. They would hit my login screen for Grafana.
Do I need to try to blur that out?
No.
Okay.
No. Okay. I probably shouldn't have brought it to everyone's attention now, but this part won't be in the post. This is just these are the people we trust. So.
Yeah. Nobody listens.
One of my guys is my hockey team is a pen tester. And I was like, I would love for you, because I expose a lot to the internet via my reverse proxy. Mm-hmm. I would love for you to just kind of see what you can poke into. Now, I think I'm doing it the right way. Instead of exposing a bunch of ports, I'm doing it via reverse proxy. So it's only one port, 443. But I was really curious. I'm like, I want you to kind of see what you can get into, since I do have so much stuff, security system, Plex, Grafana, .nextcloud, Bitwarden, right? Those are all self-hosted things that I put out to the internet. Okay, now this would be the next. This would oust the iPhone if you order this on the post show.
Just saying. I'm just saying. I think this is it, right? So, from $9.99.
Oh, this is gonna take the cake if this happens right now. Everyone in chat, we need to do it. Do it.
Let's see. Where do I go to?
How do I buy this thing?
How do I put this on my credit card?
Now, this is something where you do the Apple Card for sure.
Really? Okay. Why would I go that route?
Well, they're going to have interest-free financing for a long period of time on this sort of stuff. You get cash back. You get more. You get like 3% on Apple purchases. If you're going to make a big purchase through Apple, and there's no harm in having the Apple Card, and you can apply for it and have it in 5. You could apply for it, get your card on this call. Like we could do the whole process. We could get you an Apple Card and get you the laptop all within about 10 minutes.
It took me a while to get down to this thing, but holy cow. All right. So we're finally down here up to a 16 gig, up to 2 terabytes of storage.
So what Core M1 is this? Is this a,
let's take a look.
Because I think the Pro is an 8 core. Oh, so is this. Wow.
Okay, so let's look. 8-core CPU. Okay, so I think of this. Yeah, this is the one. The $1,200 one would be the one here. So, although I would want to upgrade it to 16 gigs, so half a terabyte, Retina display, Magic Keyboard, Touch ID, Force Touch trackpad, 2 Thunderbolt USB 4 ports. 104 for 12 months. That's not bad.
Yeah, so that's what I mean with when you do it on the Apple Card, it just makes it easy. So I would actually, if you're going to apply for that card, doing it on your phone is the easiest way to do it.
Really?
Yeah, because it already has all your info in there and has Face ID and everything.
Okay, so replacing my phone for $7, that's one thing. Dropping $1,300 without consulting the missus.
Oh, come on, Jim. I thought, never mind. We're not Sarah. I want to stay in Sarah's good graces here.
Yeah,
you should probably consult.
What the hell were you doing? Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. Let me think about this for a second. What I have. Because I would definitely, if the way to do it would be interest free for a year. That makes the most sense. You don't.
Oh, for sure.
Easy, you're not paying any interest. Spread that bad boy out, and have that in there.
I've gotten so used to that, Jim. Like even like I got Hannah AirPods, and when you have the Apple Card and you order through the app, they just assume you want to pay that way. And I'm like, yeah, I think for the AirPods it's like 3 months, right? So it's like $60 for 3 months. I'm like, yeah, sure. I mean, if it's interest free, like why not? Like however you want to charge me, just do it that way. There we go. Tony's in on the do it.
Joe's looking out for me. He's like, Jim, have you even used Mac OS? Like, do you know what you're in for? Yes, I have. I have used it. It frustrates the hell out of me, just to be 100% honest. Like it is.
So let's spend $1,300 on it.
It is. Yeah. Sometimes I already cashed out some of my crypto. You paid off early. That's true. That's very true, Brian. I appreciate that. So Mac OS, right?
Yeah.
I haven't used it. I had an old Mac a couple years back when I first started doing the show, actually. And so it's whenever the Tigers were, whenever the Tiger,
oh man, that was a ways back.
It was a while ago. So
it's gotten much better, I can promise.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking, well, again, I wouldn't use it for the OS. I'd use it for the apps. Like, it's a workflow. It's broadcasting this show. It's editing the video file. It's editing the audio file. It's doing what I do on eBay and like all that stuff. Windows doesn't help me there. Like it's not a helpful,
right?
It's not a kind of helpful thing, and then I could repurpose this into a big media box. I can justify this, man.
For sure. A million different ways.
Yeah.
And I, so you guys know, I have not used Mac, because like I said, the last Mac in the house, you saw it. Well, you guys see the iMac's not here anymore. I was only running SiteHound on the Mac, and now that's moved to a dedicated, just OptiPlex, cheap little box in the server rack. Then I have the Mac laptop. So I haven't touched Mac OS in a long time as a daily driver, but there are still things I will go pull that laptop out and do because on Windows it's just frustrating. Default stuff like, like editing a movie, right? Just a real quick, I need to edit some clips together, finding the software. I'm like, okay, iMovie is just so easy. And iMovie pulls from my photos, which is the photo cloud is synced to my phone, right? So like, I don't know if you back up, Jim, on your phone. Do you back up to iCloud for all your photos?
I do now.
Yeah. See, all those would they just show up. So it's like, oh, I took some pictures. I want to put that into something. They're just there. Like the ease, the simplicity of that was so nice. I do miss a lot of that. Airdropping stuff between your phone and your computers. And there was just so many things that when you're in that ecosystem already, it is kind of nice.
I'm seriously thinking about this.
I will, run it by the CFO.
Yeah.
That's what I call my wife. My wife's the CFO. My wife doesn't touch the finances. That's still my job, but she still gets a complete authority on everything.
This is how this would go down. She'd see, like, did you buy that? Yeah. Oh, why? Because I needed it. Okay.
Yeah. So there. Okay, so there we go. Approval done. Let's get the Apple Card and let's do it.
All right. So the way I need to apply for the Apple Card first and put that kind of
Yeah, just open the wallet app on your phone and it's
Right.
in there. Just click apply.
Yeah.
And then because the Apple Cards are pretty much all digital.
Is
And
that
then I would actually do this whole order from your phone. That is honestly the easiest way to do it.
okay? So hold on, because you got to test this thing, right? You got to test this kind of stuff. Is there a fee, an annual fee for the Apple Card?
No.
So let's do that first. But they can't watch me do that, but it's okay. So I go to the wallet.
Yep.
And-
You'll see something for Apple Card you can apply.
Let's see. Is it where it says pay cash?
Nope, that's Apple Cash.
Okay.
You should be able to hit the plus button. Or, I don't know.
Apple credit card. That's what I'm looking for, right? The simplicity of
Yes.
Apple credit card, the Apple Card. That's what
Yeah.
I'm looking for.
Yep.
Get it applied for. I'm not sure. I'm still not sure I'm going to go all the way through. What's the return policy on this thing?
On the laptop, I don't know.
I'll have to look into that. No fees, unlimited cash back, interest-free payments with Apple Card monthly, blah, blah, blah. Okay, continue.
This is so fun. I love being a bad influence on Jim.
Okay. Your information, let's change my first name. And then, whoops, not Ames. It's James. Let's see. Okay, that's cool. Pull that in. Next.
Yeah, Brian has a good point with the education store too. If Sammy's going to touch this computer at all for school, you could get it for education discount.
No, she won't. I'm not gonna let her touch this thing.
I was just trying to make you feel good about it. They don't check. So,
how much is the education discount?
I think $100 or $200 off.
And what do you have? Do you just have to say it's for school?
Yeah.
Oh, why wouldn't I do that? Why doesn't everybody do that?
No. I would. Yeah. You have a daughter who's in education, it makes it even more justifiable.
I have a son who's starting
school. And you just said, you're helping her pay for that too. So you deserve it.
Oh, you're right. Okay.
Next week on HGG, Jim Gone Mac, Ron says.
Okay.
Oh, it's $100 off, Brian says.
Oh.
So if you do a web search for Apple Education Store.
Oh, you got to buy it from there. Terms and conditions. I just agree. They're all the same.
Oh, Tony, by the way, I did see you got your Part 107. Congratulations, by the way. That test was not easy. I was shocked. They have a lot of stuff on there. I probably should have studied more. I barely passed that thing. I think you said you got like a 97%. I did not. I think I only got like a few points above whatever passing was. But yeah, I think mine's current. Do you know how long those last? I haven't looked at my... Oh, I think actually I have it right here in front of me. I'm going to see if it says when it expires. While Jim's doing that.
So then I'll make a certain percentage back on this purchase?
Yeah, I think 3%. And it goes into your Apple Cash. Okay, here it is. Here's my license. Did you get yours in the mail yet, Tony?
Let me stop sharing here. There we go. Now you can show your card and people can actually see it.
Oh, it's only 2 years, Tony? No kidding. Then when was this issued? No, I did no. Date of issue February 5th, 2017. I'm a little late. I'm like 2 years late. That's I wonder if I need to take the test again or what I need to do. I'll have to check into that. Thanks for the reminder. It's funny because the card doesn't say any expiration date. Oops, Hannah must have just gone to bed with the command of turning all the basement lights off.
I like that. So, and I can set up automatic pay on this thing. So it.
Yes. Yep. Mine just pays the balance every month.
Did you get the titanium Apple Card that came with it?
It comes with it, yeah.
Did you?
And it's kind of cool. So I can show this all day on camera because the Apple Card doesn't have any numbers on it. So there's your titanium. It's really cool.
Confirm your address.
Titanium card. Works really well. So it's run by MasterCard too. So anywhere they take MasterCard, they'll take your Apple Card if you ever have to swipe this. But I would suggest whenever you are using your Apple Card, just use Apple Pay because then you get 2% instead of 1% back. But 3% through the Apple Store, I think.
Okay, so now I go to the store.
Weaker After Dark. That's a whole different show.
Probably one I don't want to see.
Yeah, probably.
Do I buy it from the store on the phone, or what? Where do you get it on the?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. If you're not going to do education, just get the Apple Store app.
Hold on, let's just try the education. Education. What did he say? Search for education.
Education Apple Store.
Apple Education Store.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. If you just do it in the browser on your phone, that should work too.
Cool. Apple Education. Open.
So did the card thing work?
Yeah, it's done. It's all approved.
Nice. See, isn't that crazy?
That is that is super fast.
Yeah.
I have like a ridiculous amount too. That's pretty dumb. Okay. Update. It's making me update the Apple Store. Let's give it a second. So there's an Apple Store app. Am I doing the right thing? I'm not. I just haven't signed into some kind of. Okay, we'll open it. Welcome to the Apple Store app. Okay, well, allow I'm using it. So is this? I should be seeing this.
Yes.
Okay. We'll let it send me some notifications.
Right? You're not going to regret this in the morning, are you?
I totally regret this. No, I didn't regret the phone.
I know, but this is a lot bigger. Technically, this isn't that much bigger than the phone. I mean, well, I guess it is because of how much Sprint was taking off.
Yeah. I kind of wish I could get that. Shop by your device. No, I don't want to shop by my device. Okay, let's see if I can find it here. Featured. I'll search. iPad. This is an iPad Pro. No, iPad Air, right?
Yes. No, not iPad Air. MacBook Air.
MacBook Air. Stupid Mac. MacBook Air.
MacBook Ground. MacBook Air.
I'll take the thing back. Okay, here we go. Choose your new MacBook Air and select a finish. So gray is the standard, right? There's gold and silver. I like gray.
Yeah. The dark, it's like kind of a darker gray. Looks a little bit blacker.
Okay, so
I think it's actually the same color as your phone.
I don't want that one, 512. Let's see, how do I add? Like I'd want it with 16 gig, not the 8. Okay, so I must have to learn how.
Do they let you customize that?
They let Ed customize it.
Okay, they probably do.
Let's see, learn how to pay a month when you choose the Apple Card or Apple Trade-In. When you trade in your eligible computer now. Select. Well, let's select it and let's just see what we get. So we may get, it's 2 to 3 weeks out. So it's not like it's going to come tomorrow.
Right.
Or I could pick it up at the store, maybe. Okay. That's a way out by you. Then I'd have to come see you. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not even available for pickup. So you'd probably have it. Oh, there you go. Yeah, when you select it, it's an extra $200 though for that 16 gigs.
For the 8 gig. I mean, think about it. You're paying $200 for 8 more gig.
Yeah. Dang, Apple. That's a lot.
It is, considering I just bought 8 gig of laptop memory. Right?
Yeah. I will say I've always been impressed with how on Mac compared to Windows, how much less RAM you really do need. Mac does a really good job with managing RAM, in my opinion.
Yeah. Okay. So here's the drawback to it though. I always cheap out when I buy stuff. Like because I'm just so freaking thrifty in the way I do stuff, right? And so I always go I always just like, and then I regret it. Then I'm like,
yeah. Well, and that's, as
saying?
everyone brings up in chat, it's not user accessible in the future anyway. So like, if you're going to do it, you got to do it now. That's a good point, right? To avoid that future regret and a little more longevity you can get. Yeah, Brian, I did the same thing on the iMac. But it's great on the iMac because it's user accessible.
Free and easy returns is what it says. So
Hey,
if
there
I
we go.
open this thing up and I don't like it, be like, yeah, it's too frustrating for me. I just
There you
can't.
go.
I just can't overcome it. I do need to replace. Like I'm getting to the spot where I need to replace this computer, and I'd spend about that much, just to be honest, on a new one.
Tony says, if Sarah's going to be mad, give her a reason. Spend that extra 200 on the AKA.
Oh.
That's true. If you're going to be in the doghouse, you might as well be in there and be comfy.
Now, wait a minute though, because I got a dock. I got to find a dock for this thing,
Yeah, you do.
right? Because I'm gonna want to.
So this is becoming close. This is yeah, and the dock's probably gonna be 200 as well.
Yeah, would I buy the dock from the store? Would they have that?
No, I don't think the Apple docks are worth it.
Okay, so
And they don't really have docks. I would look up OWC, Other World Computing.
Okay, let's take.
And I would look at their docks.
OWC Mac for Mac, 3 dock or Thunderbolt 4 dock, right?
Oh, I can't remember. Yeah.
I think I would want to go Thunderbolt 4 on this thing, wouldn't I? Because that's what it is. It's what I saw, right? It's the Thunderbolt 4.
Yes. I'm trying to make sure that's right.
Let's look. Yeah, US 2 Thunderbolt USB 4 ports.
Yeah.
Let's see. So here, I'll just bring this up on screen. So take a look here. That's a
So you look up Thunderbolt docks.
So I did.
Top.
I did. Yeah, OWC Thunderbolt 4 docks.
Oh, you're doing it on Amazon. Okay, I'm
Yeah.
on their website.
Oh,
I'm trying to see.
I'm only getting Thunderbolt 3 docks.
Yeah, I wonder if there's any. I don't know if there's much Thunderbolt 4 out. I'm not educated enough on that, to be honest.
Okay. Well, maybe I've got a little homework to do.
Yeah.
Maybe I got.
So now you got the card. Kind of maybe start adding up what all the extra stuff you're gonna need.
Well, we know we're at 1,500 for the box, and then
Plus tax.
Oh, of course, but
yeah.
And then so another 150, maybe another 200, right here in Nebraska. Then I need to look into a dock for it because I'm going to want to run a bunch of monitors off of it. Okay. Well,
yeah, Ron, for the Mac, Thunderbolt and USB, Thunderbolt is in the form of USB-C. So it's Thunderbolt 4, but the form factor is USB Type-C. So same thing. You can plug in USB Type-C to those ports.
What's this down here?
Lightning.
Oh, that's right. It's still Lightning, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, we almost had it. We almost had it.
Hey, we got to the point where you're strong. I'm glad you're going to take a pause, sleep on it. That makes me feel a lot better. I was going to feel really bad about it if you went through with this.
Oh.
It's like I was cheering on that kid to drink a lot or something like that.
And then he dies.
And then he dies. Yeah.
No,
exactly.
Okay, so you got me thinking, and thanks to Ed too. You got me thinking, I am in a spot. I'm going to need to be in a spot where I'm going to need to replace this desktop. And do I really need? What I really need for the future is something that is fast but is portable. And this, with the M1 chip, is the best of both worlds, just to be honest. And for what I do, for the editing that I do, it's perfect. I mean, it's just completely perfect. And then there's not the temptation, because I've turned the studio PC also into kind of a server at times. I've kind of put storage things on it, whatever, and I've got in this big case and it's taking up this space. Be kind of nice if the laptop just sat down here with an external keyboard and it was powering to, and I'd get a little stand for the third monitor, or for the laptop itself, so that would act as the third monitor. You can't go to the Apple store anymore. That's the thing.
Right. Going to go touch it and feel it.
I'll just order it.
I think didn't they open I think you can schedule an appointment.
Can you?
Yeah. But so the only thing I'll mention is, have you looked at the Mac Mini? I know you want portable.
Yeah.
They do have the M1 chip, and you're saving a ton of money on the Mac Mini. Yeah. So for the 8-core 512 Mac Mini, I think it's $899.
Let's look.
So if, obviously you lose portability, but what you lose in portability, you gain, and you won't need a dock because it has two
Yeah.
USB on the back, two Thunderbolt, Ethernet, HDMI.
Yeah, let's look. No guts, no glory. No new guts, more glory. Love that. Okay. Yeah, no, actually maybe this is a better option, right? For exactly what I'm doing because it just sits on the desktop. Okay. Let's get the blah blah marketing, blah blah. Oh, let's look at the back. So HDMI.
Mm-hmm. Thunderbolt. So you can still do displays over the Thunderbolt too, right? And then you have HDMI as well. And then your USB ports.
That's beautiful. Okay, let's talk price.
And I think this comes with a new keyboard mouse,
Oh, that'd be nice. Well, okay.
wireless keyboard mouse.
Where's the Apple Education? Oh, learn more. Hey, while we're here, let's look at spring and college students. I'm buying. I'd have to save with Apple Education
Yeah.
pricing. Let's just see what this means. Mac Mini for $679. Let's click on it. And
So
then
probably that 512 one. So is it $799 then?
well, okay, so
Oh, so that's the same price.
$879.
Oh, you save $20.
Oh, yeah. So okay.
$8.99 is the regular.
Is it? So here's a thought on the mini. I don't really need storage space.
Oh, no keyboard and mouse, Brian says? Okay.
Well, I've got that. So let's select it. Because I'm kind of wondering, like, if it'll allow me to put 16. No, yeah, it's 180. So you save $20 on the RAM upgrade too, but still $200 for 8 gig. Come on, Apple.
Yeah.
Come on.
And Brian brings up a good point for you. You already have your monitors there. You already have your keyboard and mouse. Like you really don't need all the unless you just want that portability. But are you, how often are you going to take that with you? I don't know.
Yeah.
On trips, when you do start traveling again, are you going to regret it not having to, or are you okay with your work laptop? Like all those things. But man, that's a ton of savings, right? Because it's $500 cheaper.
Yeah.
Plus an extra 200 you're saving on the dock. So it's $700 cheaper.
Like it's almost $1,000 cheaper once you add the dock in and all those other things, right?
Yeah. Plus all the extra cables you would have needed to plug. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so let's hold on. How much memory is right for me, right? The M1 chip brings super fast unified memory to Mac Mini. Single pool of high bandwidth, blah, blah, blah. Your Mac Mini comes with 8 gigs standard, expandable to 16. The more memory your Mac Mini has, the more apps you can run simultaneously. The only thing I run simultaneously is Chrome. How's Chrome on the Mac? That's the thing that kills me on Windows. Freaking Chrome.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a full Chrome user on Mac. I never use anything different than Chrome. I never use Safari.
Is it a hog? Does it take up a bunch of RAM? What do you
I mean, not any more than on Windows.
So would you go 8 gig or would you go 16 if you were buying a mini? Knowing I'm really just going to do editing and I'm going to do very light video editing, podcasting, web browsing.
Does anyone in chat know on the Mac Mini if they're still user accessible? These used to be for RAM. You used to be able to get on the bottom and upgrade later. And you could buy it from somewhere else.
Does say blah blah blah. Your Mac Mini comes standard with 8 gig of memory and can be expanded to 16 gig.
Well, but I think that means by them, like
Brian says not user accessible anymore.
Okay.
God, that's just such a kick in the nuts to pay that kind of money.
What?
Okay, but here's the difference. I mean, it's 56 versus 71. Like,
Yeah.
February 5th is when this delivers. I don't need the bundle. What's in the box? Wow. there's a user experience, right?
Now,
What
I will say
would you do,
the
Mike?
the one thing you might want to consider, and you wouldn't have to do this today, but the one thing on the Mac that like I find using a mouse on the Mac to be not an enjoyable experience. I mean, it's fine, but like I shouldn't say it's not enjoyable. I should say that's like okay, but like the main features once you learn all like the whoop whoop all this stuff with your fingers on the trackpad. So and they sell the trackpad for the Mac Mini, might be someone you might want to think about too. I would if I were you.
Yeah. Tell me.
Do you have a laptop for work?
Yes, I've issued one.
And when you travel, is it good enough to do like editing of podcasts? Anything you would need to do?
I can't because it's a work laptop.
Okay.
But I don't do that. I have, if I really needed to, I've got this Dell i5 that would work great for that. Now it's 16 gig of memory. So
I mean, you can't $1,000. I don't think it's worth the portability.
it's hard to justify that, isn't it? Like
It is.
and I'm not in a situation where I'd really take it with me.
That's the only thing I can think of where you're gonna be like, shit, I wish I would have. But like, I don't think you're gonna say, shit, I should have spent an extra $1,000 to be able to take this once or twice. You already, I mean, you have your iPhone and your iPhone. I mean, that's my thing is like, I don't need much more than my iPhone these days.
I don't think I'd regret it. Just to be honest with you. I don't think I would want to take that. I'd want to take that on the road with me. One of the hangups I have is, I use Mouse Without Borders to share a keyboard and a mouse across all 9 of these monitors that I have down here. Well, it's not true. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them all share the same keyboard and mouse. If I introduced the Mac in the middle of it, I would break that, right?
Well, no, there's a different app that does that I ran as well. When I was running Mac, Windows, and Linux, I literally had a Linux computer, a Windows, and this. It's just a different app.
Okay. All right.
So it's not mouse not keyboard or mouse not borders anymore. It's something else.
Something else. Okay.
Yeah.
Right, so that would
Synergy, I think it's called.
it works across all those platforms. Well, I'm gonna consult because I think you're right. It's like I think this is a done deal, just to be honest. Ed mentioned this when I was talking to Ed on Sunday. He mentioned buying one of these. I'm gonna chat with him. I'm gonna talk to Sarah about it. I'm gonna chat with him on Sunday about it. And I think if I move into this space, Mike, I think this is the route to go.
Yep.
I'd
agree.
Yeah. Synergy. Yeah. That's the
Find
right.
it.
That's the right app.
Yeah, Synergy. There we go.
The other, the other question is, do you wait for the next rev of this thing? Because if they're only going to
first gen their silicon,
super
get
fast.
better.
I mean, it's great, but it's only going to get better, right?
I think that's a really good idea.
Do you wait and kind of see what comes out the door? Would it be a whole year before?
That's the only thing. It's been inconsistent about how often they're putting a whole new chip in.
Okay, so there's no phone coming tonight, but I'm seriously thinking about this.
I like it.
Yeah.
I'm shocked. I'm still like, I'm going to wake up tomorrow like, was that a dream? Did Jim really think about buying a Mac? Because I don't know what has happened in this world, Jim. Like, I was supposed to be the Mac guy. Now I'm all Windows, and you're thinking about buying a Mac. It's just...
Mike, it works. I
heard pigs outside, and I think they're in the air, but I don't know.
It just works. Like it
does.
You convinced me. I mean, for me, it just works. So Tony says they've done years.
That's true.
Updating the Mini. Well, it's not going to go up in price, and it's not like I'm going to lose that deal. So I think it'd be good to kind of think about it a little bit. I put painter's tape on my hard drives so I can mark them, what they are, and I'm looking at them, and the paint or the peeled right off.
Kind of like getting a little hot, huh?
Yeah. Apparently the heat
drives are probably a little hot.
Things. Yeah, I didn't kind of think. Maybe I didn't think that one through all the way.
So is that $71 a month? Is that for just a year? Man, that's really not bad when you think about no interest for a year on that Apple Card.
Correct. Yeah, I'm assuming it's got the asterisk. So, oh no, that's not it. Apple Card activation, access users. Okay. I don't know. I'm assuming yes. Yeah, I'm assuming that is yes, because 71 times 10. What's the final price on this thing? Because I added
859. Yep, it is.
Yeah, I think that'd be the configuration. 16 gig of RAM and a 256 hard drive. I don't think I need more than 256, just to be honest.
Right.
With as much storage, 70 terabytes of storage here. I think I'm good on the storage side,
Yep. And it's just the only other thing that I would actually think about is, are you going to regret, are there any other, you got to look through all of the stuff you run. Are there any little tiny apps that are Windows stuff? That's the only other thing that I run into too, is like, oh shoot, I forgot that little utility I use. I can't run that.
I run a Twitter app. I run Discord. I'm assuming there are ways to do that.
Yes, there are. Good there.
Yeah,
Brian's right. You do get your 3% back right away for the whole order. Kind of nice.
Well, okay, Mike, but let's be really, really clear here. I have other Windows boxes on the desk. It's not, this thing doesn't
need to be.
It needs to be my
productivity box,
video and audio podcast editor, right? It needs to power the microphone.
It'll do great at that.
Needs to power my camera. It needs to edit the video file, edit the audio file. Like, it's kind of made for that.
Mm-hmm. They are
made for, right?
Yep.
And I'd be silly not to go with 16 gig, because I've been talking about that here on this one. It has
practice what you preach.
Yeah, right. That'd be, and I I've short hopped that too many times to regret it.
Right.
So what's 3% of the purchase? So it's 3%.
$25.
Yeah, so that's not that much money. No.
But still,
we're close. We're close on this. We're really we are really super close, because then the Core i7 box moves down to, then it's
Unraid, baby. Then you move your channels or Plex onto there, and oh man, you got a really good i7 Unraid. The sky's the limit. It's already got an SSD in there.
There's some great things I could do.
And the great part about Unraid is, you take that USB stick out of your current one, throw it in the new box. As long as it has the same drives, it'll boot back up like nothing happened.
Yeah, true. You've been listening live. You stayed around for 2 hours. Thank you. I appreciate you guys coming out. If you didn't been doing it since the beginning, stay tuned for the saga. I will have an update. I'll have an update next week. Did he not? Listen, never in a million years. And I'm not like, I'm like, this makes sense. You're kind of like,
yeah. I agree. I'm just shocked. This is great. Maybe it's like, I almost feel like it's my moment to be like, Jim, my time here is done. Like, the task has been complete. It is time that I leave you. You are now the transformation.
Become a Windows guy. Like,
I must leave you now. No, Mike, the journey is done.
My job done here.
Yep.
No, I think. Yeah, I just like to. Listen, I have M1 chip envy. Let's just be.
Oh, I do too. Yeah.
Let's be really, really clear here. And so this gets me a chance. Like, I've never really, when I built Studio PC, I did a Core i7 4770. Yeah, 4770. I think that's right. And I could pull up Bellark and it would tell me. Oh, wait a minute. I got the CPU ID up here. Let me just make sure I'm getting that GeForce. Okay, no, Samsung, no. Yeah, i7, 4770. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
There's a really good chip in its day. That was top of the line. I put 16 gig of RAM in it, which was a lot of memory in those days, right? To put in it. Paired it with a 500 gig SSD. It's really good for its time. But everything else I have is crap. And this would be a nice So as the daily driver for productivity at home here, I'm going to be going back in, here in the next 6 months, whatever. Be a nice daily driver to kind of keep that progress growing. And then of course I'm doing more and more video and audio editing for work. So it would help me. And I'm doing it on my box. So it kind of helped me do some of that. I edited a whole season just 2 weeks ago for the whole year. And I just cranked through these files. So not that okay, because the i7 does it really, really well still. Like that's a really good chip. It's still it's cool, it runs cool. It's just been a workhorse for me. So all right. If you're listening live, Mike, stay around for just a second. We'll see you guys next Thursday. Will Jim have a Mac Mini? I think that's the way I'm leaning. We'll see you guys next week.